Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to the Father and Son Network live show called Done by Some. Hello, Patrick. How you doing today?
I'm living. I'm
You
living. How are
living.
you?
All right. All right. So, Father and Son, Done by Some is fathers and sons having real conversations that matter to make an impact on the world. Real conversations done by some. My son and I are here with you, and we want to have impactful and engaging conversations about father and son topics. We're currently looking for fathers and sons to be guests on the show. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, drop us a line. Send us an email, send us a message, type it in the comments, and we'll consider inviting you to a show. If you know someone that should be listening to this show, then you should tag them. Share this message with them. Again, it's real fathers and real sons having real conversations done by some. Let's jump into it today, son. Man, I'll tell you what, we have a topic that I'm excited about today. And it's helping your son deal with mean boys, right? That's one of those things that fathers and sons, parents struggle with as their kid is coming up. So we'll talk about this, and remember, folks, you can put your comments in this and put your messages in the comments. Let us know if you've had these struggles, if you've had to figure out how to make this work. Just let us know, and we'll put your comments up and we'll talk about them. The peer group, if you will, occupies tremendous influence over your son's passion throughout childhood. It can be warm and welcoming, and you could have these signals that come across as acceptance, right? Or in a bat of an eyelash, it could dish out cold cruelty that tears at the fabric of your child's self-worth. Now think about this. Twist of faith propel one boy upon a path of social security, while the other languishes in the role of social outcast, right? Physical strength, height, attractiveness, intelligence, athleticism, and the other popular markers shift the social scales in all kinds of directions, right? Many boys are so embroiled in the acceptance rejection cycle that they perpetuate or they fall victim to this these behaviors by their peers, and these things could be verbal mistreatment, banishment, duplicity, all of these type things, right? Relational aggression describes these negative social actions often committed within long-standing friendships, and I'm gonna say that again. They often are committed during these long-standing friendships, right? So underneath the cruelty lies this powerful forces that shape the shifting sands of peer life, right? Wishes for acceptance and admiration, stored resentments, insecurity-driven rivalries, or other sources fuel this duel between top dog and those in power, or underdog and those without power. It's armed with insight and reassurance. Parents can soften the sting, the blow, and all of this type stuff for your son, and it can empower them with the knowledge of how to survive versus succumb to these destructive dynamics. Now, we're going to be talking today about helping your son deal with relational aggression and aggressive behaviors. So we're going to share with you a few of these things. So Pat, why don't you go ahead and share some of the parenting coaching tips to help their son think through.
Yeah, keep communication open. And if you're not having any communication, knock. So I mean, it's common for children to withhold information that's related to their peers or whatever issues they're having due to the feelings that they have, and they could be inadequate, or the fears of embarrassment, or just the tendency to just shut off the thoughts of whatever they're going through. And because of that, parents may assume that no news is good news, and they could be setting themselves up for failure and reveal something that's actually really bothering their children and just boils over. So approach your child with questions to see what's going on in their head, and just to give you that awareness and to get to that source of what's going on. So like asking, wonder how things are going between you and your friends, or how are people getting along, or have you noticed how quickly kids can be mean to one another? Have you noticed that? I mean, I'm sure you have. So ask the question to your kid, or maybe just ask yourself that question to say, I guess when you go to like conferences and stuff, where you talk to the parents, like, how are they treating each other? I guess, I don't know, but is that something that I guess you tried to look out for when you went to those conferences with me?
Yeah, you know what? No, I didn't focus on that. I also assumed some things, right? And I probably shouldn't have assumed, but I assumed some things, that if there were any issues, that you would have brought them to my attention and told me, right? But you never, hold on a second, you never came and told me that there were any issues, so I didn't even I didn't consider that, or think about it. And we were involved in New Year Friends, so some of it, again, we just was assuming that everything was good and okay, and that there were no issues. So we didn't see any red flags, any change in your behavior, right? You didn't go a whole lot of places, so there was not many times where I was worried about you being out there, or getting bullied or anything like this. But that's an assumption that I made on my end, that if there was any issues, you would have brought it to my attention. So the question is, did any of that type stuff ever happen to you, where you thought the person was your friend and all of a sudden they just like turned?
No, because I was generally a nice person. Like, everybody just liked, because I was always happy and smiling all the time. So I just had a aura to be like that. He's just a nice person. Yeah, I did have fights with friends and stuff like that, but even as a child, I probably wouldn't have told you. But I mean, like you said, you're making some assumptions, but I wouldn't have just straight up told you what it was, just because it's the simple fact of what I just said. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm like weak or anything like that. But if you ask the question, and like, I know you were asking me questions a lot, especially after school, is like, how was your day? And I'll tell you it was good. Like, you would start asking me other questions, because good wasn't good enough of an answer.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, and I didn't notice any. There were no red flags that came up to me and said, "Well, Patrick's acting different," and anything like this. So, I didn't have any concerns. But yeah, sometimes we as parents make assumptions where we probably should ask some of those other questions as well, right? How are people getting along? Have you noticed how quickly friends can be mean to one another? Just wondering how things are going between you and your friends, right? Those are great questions to ask, especially in this era of bullying, right? Great questions to ask. So now let's keep going. So if we go to the second one, is prepare your children for unpredictability of friendships, right? One of the worst, most devastating aspects of relational aggression is how suddenly it can strike. It seems like sometimes it just comes out of nowhere, right? So the targeted child, let's say your child is that targeted person, experiences it as coming out of nowhere, like I said, right? Since that person who deliver it is typically a friend, is a person that you know, like, and trust. And all of a sudden, boom, they change. So you got to explain how attitudes and behaviors change as children develop. Now, it's important to understand that some friendships that feel good and strong today won't always be that way. See, I'm so good, I just rhyme. Those friendships that that feel good and stay strong, strong today won't always be that way. Just in case you missed it, I repeated it. All right.
Gosh.
So, but friendships can change as you get older, right? There are some people that you're friends with in elementary school, but when you get to middle school, you're no longer friends with them because you guys are going in different directions. And that same thing happens when you go from middle school to high school, from high school to college, and then it happens in your adult life as well. People you were once friends with, when you guys go in different directions, one goes this way and the other goes the other way, right? So friendships can change the older you get, and sometimes you need to find ways to deal with the changes you see in others, right? So that is one. You can have a conversation with that person and ask them, you know, I'm seeing this difference in you. What is this all about? The next thing is you may start changing in terms of, let's say you're going to a higher level. You may have to start getting new friends. So all of a sudden now you're not hanging out with the people you used to hang out with, right? Even in scripture, it says, when I was a child, I act and did things as a child, but when I became an adult, I put childish things aside. And there's nothing wrong with people going to different levels and you moving on past a certain friend. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So,
Nothing wrong with it, but it's scary.
well,
Because now,
so why you
now
say
you
it's
have to
scary?
really, now you have to really contemplate, like, because if you're used to having a lot of friends, now you're gonna have like a couple of friends. Are you able to deal with that? I think that's a real question.
Yeah. So, you know, yeah, that can definitely happen. And you know, in my case, for example, I grew up in one area all of my life, right? So with that, there were people that I was friends with, and I was real young, and you know, we were casually now would just say hello and that type that type thing, where we might have been real close as I was growing up. But then I also have some of those friends who are um, so that means, well, let me step back. That means that when I was younger, I had this big group. As I got older, that group got smaller, right? And today, you know, about 10 or 15 of my high school classmates, we're still real close. Every day, literally every day we talk, right? So and some of those people I talk with now in my classmates, we didn't communicate when we were younger, but we grew together. And so that also, I guess the reverse part of that can happen as well. Um, so what do you think about the next one?
Coach your children in ways to be assertive and savvy to when responding. That's also important. So targeting kids often respond in either a fight or flight pattern. So it could deepen their damage too in their friendships, but emphasize the need to respond quickly and stand their ground without escalating to hostility. That's very important.
Yeah.
Suggest that they use words that mirror how the aggressor sounds, especially in the presence of mutual friends. So, like saying, "Your words, your words make you look bad to the rest of us," or "The way you turn on me like that, you've never done that before," or "Who's going to be next?" Like capture the essence of being bold, but not brutish. Like give that opportunity to say something and not just be silent and hold their feelings in. because that could change the path of what is going to happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. And for parents, teaching your child how to be assertive. Not, and sometimes when we hear this, we'll think that okay, we got to take them to karate class, or we got to take them to judo classes, or we got to take them to. It's not necessarily about that. It's just about helping your child understand how to stand up for themselves. That just could be verbally, how to use a different um, set of words, how to feel more confident, helping them feel more confident about themselves. And again, the way you do this really is by asking a whole lot of questions.
Yep.
Right?
Kill them with questions.
Kill them with questions. Well, that's where that internal reflection comes in with those questions. It helps your child. It helps them reflect and understand what they already have inside of them, along with some of the guidance and words that you're going to give them, right? But it gives them the confidence to know that, wow, I already had some of this inside of me because I said that answer, right? So yeah, this one is can be challenging for both parents and for kids. But we hear the words bully a lot now, right? And we find that bullying happens a lot. People are a little bit more aggressive these days than they I guess in the past. But also, I think that younger people are not as strong mentally, as strong as they were in my generation coming up. So we could take verbal jousting with one another more than they can take it today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So part of this is just helping your kid understand. You're helping your son understand how to not take everything so literal and serious.
That's tough.
Yeah, it can be, right? But that's also a part of life. It doesn't mean that a person, just because someone says something to you, and it may not have been the best thing they could have said, doesn't mean that they had your best interest. I mean that they were trying to. They did. It doesn't mean that they didn't have your best interest in mind. It doesn't mean that they were trying to really hurt you for real. They could have been joking, and you have to know that sometimes that does happen. And I get it. I'm not trying to downplay bullying at all, because I know that does exist. I just think that our kids are not as mentally strong to handle those things like we were coming up in my generation. And a lot of that has to do with because everybody has this phone. So you're not having those direct verbal conversations. Everybody can be a bully behind the phone and on their typewriter, or on their keyboard, rather, not typewriter anymore, but on their keyboard.
We get back to our
time. Yeah. Hey, some of you fathers know what a typewriter is, right? All right. Now, all right. I'm not that old. Okay.
You said it.
Yeah, your son may not know what a typewriter is, or what is that. But they need to understand how to be a little bit stronger in their in their conviction, in their mental toughness, so they can get over and get through some things. But again, I'm not trying to downplay bullying at all. It does exist, but I think we can be a little bit more mentally strong as well, and not as sensitive. All right, so let me share the last one, and we're going to get on out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your day. You got to educate them on these themes of triggering these behaviors, right? There's a pecking order of power and submission, and sometimes that's the backdrop of really what's happening in the issue. Let me give you an example. One of your son's friends who distinguishes himself in a positive way, but who isn't a top dog, may find himself targeted by those who wish to unseat him or verbally diminish his success, right? I'm sure you've heard about that, right? Likewise, you could have the top dogs need to dominate. Their need to dominate can manifest itself in these arbitrary rule making and vicious tricks, while underdogs provide silent, tacit support. Now, this drama is then placed on pause if the parents are around. You know how a kid will act one way when the parent is around, and a totally different way when the parent is not around, right? So preserving the impression that all is well between the friends, that's what they're trying to do. Yet oftentimes these behaviors pass as quickly as they appear. So you have to understand that and know that, and then suggest that they try and hang in there just a little longer, right? And again, this goes to what I was talking about earlier, being a little bit more mentally tough.
Yeah, that's it's just tough. Like, especially for a kid that doesn't really know like how to even react in those situations. I mean, yeah, you try to listen to everything your parents are saying, but once you're actually in that situation, it's completely different. It's like when Mike Tyson, they all have a plan until they get hit, and then they plan. What's the plan again? They're trying to survive after that. It's like that.
Yes.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we never want to start with this, but if you get hit, you better hit back.
Yeah.
And we just have to deal with that. But I will tell you that mental toughness, bullying, understanding how to deal with peer pressure is one of those things that students struggle with back in my day. It's one of the things that students struggle with today, and it's one of those things that students will struggle with in the future, right? So it's one of those that's going to always be evolving, and parents have to always be willing to have a conversation. So parents out there, fathers out there, tell us how you've dealt with these situations, right? I know we see out there a lot of times now kids deal with it with guns and violence and all that type of stuff. That's not the way that we want to teach. But we know that it does exist and it does happen.
And
right?
I mean, that trait can be taught. Like it's there's so much that happens, or there's so much that the teaching happens right when it's actually happening. But it could be, you pretty much need to just plan ahead for it, to say like it's gonna happen, so let's start now, even when it's not happening, to prepare their mind for it and to get them ready. It's like my dad used to tell me all the time is when I say I want to be a manager, I want to be a manager. He said, well, read the books now of what like the leadership principles are, and just what people like and don't like now before you're a manager. And so when you become that manager, you have an idea of what the success, how to be successful, instead of wait until you become the manager and then start reading the books. It's too late. Like, you're not prepared for it. You don't know, you don't really have an idea of what the struggles can be, how to communicate with people differently. There could be different personalities that you don't even know about. So just that type of stuff is started as early as possible. So they could build that mindset and that confidence in them. So when it does happen, they're ready.
Yes, absolutely. When the time comes and opportunity arises, it's too late to prepare. You have to be ready. And in my life, have I been on the front end of some of those? Yes, absolutely. Have I been on the back end of some of those where I was thrown in a situation and I needed to prepare? Yes, absolutely. This is why you have to always be ready. You always be thinking ahead of where am I going and where do I want to be, and then prepare yourself. So what we're saying is prepare your child prepare your son, help them deal with mean boys, because it's going to happen, right? That's just the way it is. That's just the way of life. And as boys growing up, we're going to have those situations, and you got to help your son prepare to handle those situations. Man, son, I've had a good time here today talking about this topic. What about yourself?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I have one more comment. It's crazy because I talked to some of the people that I knew in high school now, and I didn't see it, but some people thought I was a bully.
They thought you were a bully?
Yeah. I was like,
oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't see it, but I guess, I don't know. I guess seeing it from their eyes is a completely different story, but I thought that was interesting. And then talk about this, I was like, it's crazy.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you were running around there terrorizing people at school?
No, I wasn't. No, I was not. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I don't remember being mean to nobody. So I don't know. Maybe I was. I don't know.
Well, maybe it was verbal.
Probably. I mean, I am blunt, so I know people could take that the wrong way. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was interesting. Now I like this topic.
See there, real fathers and real sons having real conversations, right? I'm talking about don't being bullied, and my own son bullying people.
No, I wasn't. Whatever. Forget it.
Oh man. All right. Well, well, good. Well, yeah, our show airs every other Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time. Real conversations done by some. So invite friends, invite fathers and sons who you believe they should hear this message, right? There may be a single parent out there that needs to hear this message and have this conversation with their son. Tag them on this message, share it with them. Let them know that we're here to help have these real conversations. Thank you guys very much for tuning in today. I'm excited every time I get here and I get to turn the mic on and to be in front of you. So again, thank you for tuning in. We hope you got something out of it. Feel free to drop us a line if there's something that we can do to help, something that we can do to, just give you a message. You can definitely drop us a line. I'm looking for our email here to put up on the screen. Go ahead and you can grab that and send us a message. Send us an email. Maybe a topic you want to have us talk about with fathers and son relationships or anything around fathers and sons. Send us a message. You can just put it right in the comments below while you're listening. Thank you guys again for tuning in to another version of Done by Some. Peace. We out.